Hello and welcome, friends. This is a video that I've had planned since a long time ago, and given your votes on my last poll, it's finally time to make this a reality. In one of my previous videos, I stated that Call of the Zone is my most favorite mod of all time. I said that I'd be talking about it in the near future, and I guess here we are. The reason why CoTZ is my favorite mod is something you probably wouldn't expect. It all stems from my emotional attachment for it. And look, I don't like being dramatic online, nor do I like to open up for hundreds of strangers who have no idea about who I am, nor could they care less. But it has to be said, Stalker helped me during some of the darkest corners of my life, and I am thankful for it. For me, Stalker is not just a game. It means a lot more to me than you can fathom, and I hope some of you can relate. And Call of the Zone is no different. If anything, it alone had more impact on me than any other mod I've played. As crazy as it sounds to see someone have such an emotional connection with a mod, I wouldn't blame you, but it has its reasons as to why it holds such an important place in my heart. I apologize if I'm ranting about my emotions and stuff. I know this wasn't on your bingo card when you clicked on this video. Trust me, it wasn't my original intention to bring this up either, but alas, here we are. When I first pitched the idea for this video, I intended for it to be another typical review in my style. But now, I thought it would be better and more fun to watch if I were to document my playthrough with CoTZ. And an even better thing would be to turn this into a mini-series of some sorts. And this is the first episode. I'm playing on Call of the Zone 1.2 with a few add-ons, mainly Arsenal Overhaul 3 for more weapons, the HAP and HG models for better hand and NPC models respectively, AO3 character store for an anomaly-like loadout shop, Ron's repeatable questline for more quests, just to name a few. If you want all the add-ons that I'm using in my installation, be sure to let me know and I'll list off everything that I'm playing with. If you notice that the visuals are different from what you're used to, that's because I'm using a custom resdhade I made, so if you want that as well, be sure to let me know. Right, enough talking. Let's embark on our journey in the zone. First thing I did was to make a hard save for my previous mercenary run. With my progress safe and sound, I spun the wheel to decide which faction I should play. Well, looks like luck was on my side as I already wanted to try a Dutier run. My goal was simple, survive in the zone for 2 weeks and see how far I progress. I started a new game as Vityaz, a Dutier in Rostock. I picked myself some bandages, medkits, a PP2000 SMG that I would later regret spending my points on, a knife, binoculars, and 1 bottle of vodka. I was set to tackle the dangers of the zone, but before that I needed to make myself some dough. First thing I did was meet with Colonel Petrenko, who told me to meet with Xenotech in Cordon. This somewhat long distance meant I could focus on gearing myself up before tackling the main storyline. So I asked around for some easy quests when a group of Dutiers told me to help them scout Wild territory. I accepted the quest, seeing that the potential threat of mercenaries could guarantee some good starter loot. And onto Wild territory I went. It didn't take long for some mercs to show up surprisingly early on, and even less time for one of them to put a bullet in my head. Gone are the days of tanking damage while running like hell. It seems that I will need to be all attentive and cautious to survive in here. And after I loaded my save, I made sure to stick to cover and be the first to shoot. But oddly enough, it looked as if the mercs have completely forgotten about me after quick loading. Man, the A-life is truly something. After eliminating the assailants, I proceeded to claim my reward from them, and soon enough I already had an upgrade over my PP2000, an LR300 with decent ammo and a red dot sight, as well as a Mossberg 590. Had I known I would be getting this beforehand, I would have opted for something cheaper, But no point in crying over spilled milk, I guess. As I continued through wild territory, I was jump scared by some zombies, whom I quickly put out of their misery. One of them even dropped an MP5 with an ACOG sight. I swapped the sights on my guns, and now I am as deadly from close range as I am from distance. But without armor, I am a glass cannon, but that would come eventually. I soon finished the quest, got paid the most for something I didn't put any effort in, before heading back to Rostock. Nothing interesting happened on the way except for some bandits that showed up where I killed the mercs earlier. It was a tense fight, but as my victory drew close, the universe had other plans for me, and my game crashed. Undeterred, I loaded my save and proceeded to clap the bandits a second time before dying in a stupid fruit punch anomaly. I reloaded the save again, this time managing to loot their corpses without dying, before making my way to Petrenko to sell him the spoils of my battle. I headed to the bar to say hi to my man, barman, or barkeep, whatever. I stashed away my items, asked him if he had any jobs for me, as well as Garrick. It was then that I realized that both quests were broken, so I reloaded the save, making sure I don't ask them for tasks again. Then I, again, stashed my items and decided that it would be a waste if I were to use the LR300 this early on, so instead I bought some ammo and a scope for my AK-74. After some running back and forth, I decided to buy myself some armor to protect myself while on the way to Cordon, where I'd tackle my first main story quest. Unfortunately for me, I was 2000 rubles short, so I had to sacrifice my rifle and shotgun in order to afford the sunrise suit. I was back to square one of being a broke boy, but at least I'm now a dripped out broke boy. God, why did I say that? Anyway, with my armor in hand, I can now die in 3 shots instead of 2, so that's an upgrade. As I entered garbage, I immediately started hearing gunfire. As I cautiously crossed the gate, I found out that it was merely some loners beefing with bandits, and I proceeded to save them. After my heroic intervention, I took the loot as reward before moving on, and barely a minute later, I heard the gunfight take place in the train hangar. Damn, it seems like this place can't take a break. Unexpectedly, it was loners causing shit again with the military this time. I didn't stay too long to see who'd win, and I snagged myself an AK-74M, an upgrade over my AK-74. But before I could celebrate, my game crashed once again. It seems like it's gonna be a common occurrence. It was night time and I was tired anyway, so I called it a night before continuing the next day. The next day was exhausting, but I still pushed through and I picked up where I left off. I grabbed myself a stash with a gunsmith toolkit, which would surely help later, then found a bear detector near the exit of garbage before my game crashed again. Damn it. I quick loaded, left garbage, killed a bandit, then stopped at the Rookie Eater anomaly and grabbed myself an artifact. Currently, the only trader who will buy my artifacts is Sakharov, so I'll be hoarding artifacts for a while. I then finally met with Xenotech, gave me a mission to scour the Agroprom underground to find some documents. If you've done this quest before, you'd know how hectic it is, as the game doesn't tell you where to find the docs, but luckily I know exactly where to find them. Which couldn't be further from the truth. You will see what I mean when we get there. After that, I made my way to Sidorovich after a bandit took me by surprise. I sold my weapons to him while listening to straight fire from the radio. Seriously, this guy is dropping bars. I paid Sid a sum of rubles to take me to Rostock, where my game crashed. Not once, but twice. I then discovered an odd item in my inventory. It was a 45 ACP round with a quantity of 0. Seriously, does this thing even exist or not? Anyway, I realized that moving the thing between inventories would crash the game, and fortunately, dropping it seems to fix the issue, as well as deleting it from existence. Not that it even existed to begin with. perhaps Schrodinger's bullet, where the round seemingly exists and doesn't exist simultaneously. After stashing my stuff, I started working on getting the mechanized warfare achievement that requires you to find all 3 toolsets for one technician. So I started with Mangun, and thankfully the toolset he sent me after was pretty close, but I would be getting that later. I thought of fighting at the arena, but I asked Yolik for a quest. He wanted me to take him to Wild Territory, and to Wild Territory I went. Almost immediately, I heard a very familiar voice. Turns out, there was a group of monolithians who were stationed near the entrance. I opened fire on them, and in their retaliation, they went for my companion who hit the ground faster than I could react. They almost killed me as well, but with fast thinking and faster button pressing, I managed to help him as well as eliminate the threat. That was a close one, but at least my friend gets to see another day. Shortly after, I came upon some degenerated freedom scum, and the only freedom they deserve is freeing them from their flesh prison. After the fire burned out, I found one of the fallen freedomers carrying the holy grail of shotguns, Vityaz 34. I was so glad I found this because, I shit you not, this shotgun was more reliable as a sniper than actual snipers. It can also mount various optics for long-range hunting. With the Taz in my possession, I brought Yolik with me to his destination, but there was a military soldier waiting for him there. He started shooting at him, but he wouldn't be killing my friend this time. Despite the severe consequences, I still killed him and extracted Yolik to his destination. After that, I crashed at a nearby bed as it was getting pretty dark. Back at Rastak, I upgraded my gear and sold my weapons to Barkeep before taking a break to collect my thoughts. It was then time to move on to Agroprom, and I started by first going to garbage to grab the toolkit, and luck was seemingly on my side, for now at least, as I found a Velas detector in the stash and a little bonus as a 545 suppressor. With the toolkit secured, I then moved on and I was met with an onslaught of stalkers of all kinds. I didn't want to be part of it, so I ran away and went to Agroprom Underground. This time, it was easier as the military weren't hostile to me, but the real challenge would soon be revealed. As I made my way through, killing the usual rodents, I finally made it to the clear sky part of the dungeon. There, I took care of the controller and most poltergeists. But as I made a run to grab the documents, disaster struck. The documents were not in their usual spawn location. I thought maybe the poltergeist threw them away, and in that case, I quick-loaded. This time making sure to not provoke the poltergeist into throwing shit at me. And after defeating them again, I went to collect the documents, and as you might have guessed, they were nowhere to be seen. I was panicking at that point, and thinking of how terrible of an idea it was to accept Xenotech's quest instead of trying to get a different one. And so I took yet another break, ready to hit the sack, hoping that the game would fix itself the next day. But I simply couldn't have quit like that, not after just 2 failed attempts. And so I scoured the underground, searching left and right until I had the idea to check inside Strelok's hideout. And against all the ionized odds, I found them. I was appalled by how lucky I was. Documents in my hands and a grin on my face, I soon left the Agroprom underground and made my way to Cordon, where I completed my task and then headed back to Rastak before stashing my items and calling it a night. Satisfied and yet another fruitful day. The following day, my wrist was heavily bruised and I didn't play for long. Still, that didn't stop me from grinding. I first started by correcting my mistake and equipping a PU scope on my shotgun to enhance its long-range potency, before begging the NPCs for some quests. One of them gave me a wall of text that I couldn't be bothered to read, so I blindly accepted. Turns out, he asked me to help him move a locked case to a stash in garbage. I like these quests because the stashes are usually full to the brim with loot. Before going, I asked Petrenko for quests and he told me I needed to counter a monolithian attack in Yantar. I'll need to prepare for that one. And so, I started heading towards garbage before my dumbass forgot to tell the Dutiers to follow me. The walk to the stash was nothing special, though I did encounter a group of blind dogs being swallowed by an anomaly, which was cool to see. After some more walking, I reached the stash, which had typical loot with the exception of a 1P59 scope that I've never seen before. I talked to Voloshin, asked him for my reward, and he gave me a UMP45. And as much as I like the gun, it wasn't something I wanted nor needed. So I reloaded the save. This time he gave me a CS3B body armor. An improvement over my sunrise suit, but a very marginal one. So I reloaded the save again, and this time he gave me a Kolobok artifact, which would sell well, so I took it and headed back home. However, now that I had a Velas detector, I decided to check the nearby anomalies for artifacts. The Mauler had two, but they didn't want to come out of the ground, so I quick loaded and thankfully, this time I got them. Then I headed to the vehicle graveyard to check on the three anomalies. The first two didn't yield anything, but the third one had a jellyfish, which would prove useful for countering radiation. On my way to the push-pull anomaly, I had an encounter with a Burer, which triggered my PTSD from my last encounter with them in Gunslinger. He nearly took me out, but the nearby stalkers made quick work of him. On top of the pile, the anomaly was generous enough to generate two artifacts for me, easiest artifact hunt of my life. I wanted to check out the Greek fire anomaly, but I decided against it as it was getting dark. Back at the bar, I stored away my items before preparing for the assault on the Monolithians. All I needed was an underslung grenade launcher, as I already had an ample supply of grenades. But before that, I needed to skip the night. I upgraded my stuff, hit the sack, and the next day I was feeling hungry. All I had was a sausage roll, so I went to Barkeep to buy my breakfast. Oddly enough, he didn't have any food items in his inventory, so I tried refreshing his wear by spamming the quick load button, to no avail. So instead, I went to Petrenko to see if he had a grenade launcher, and just like Barkeep, he didn't have the one thing he was supposed to have. I was pretty pissed, so I quick saved before taking a break and hopping back an hour later. When I went back on, I decided to see if Petrenko was selling the grenade launcher I needed. And to my absolute surprise, he did not have it. Well, guess I'll take on the Monolithians using my trusty AK. After all, you know the old saying, "Niet, a rifle is fine." Who needs a grenade launcher when you have F1 grenades? I checked out the nearby anomaly and managed to snag myself a ranged artifact, an upgrade over my jellyfish. I talked with Mangun and he told me to kill this guy and grab the tools from him. Except that he was in Red Forest. Ain't no way he's expecting a wet wipe to venture into Red fucking Forest for some tools. So I reloaded the save, asked him again, and this time, the tools were in wall territory. I was going there anyway, so it was a nice placement for it. I went to wall territory, killed the guy and his squad before looting their corpses while the nearby comet kept me on edge as I carefully tiptoed through the burner anomalies. I headed towards Yantar, and as I drew closer to the rock worshipping fanatics, I pulled out my TOZ 34 and got it ready for action. I wasn't lying when I said this was a better sniper than most snipers, and as long as enemies aren't too far or behind cover, they will be taken down fairly easy. To say that the fight was anticlimactic would be an understatement. I expected these guys to be armed to the teeth with snipers and high-end weaponry, but it was a measly half a dozen clueless crackheads armed with shit pistols. As I killed the last one, I noticed that I was close to 3 anomalous areas. I knew, however, that trying to grab them would be suicide, as the immense waves of psi radiation would fry my brain faster than a black person. Anyway, as I was about to retreat, I was tempted by the sight of 3 artifacts. My monkey brain couldn't resist and I dove right into an electro anomaly. I reloaded the save, this time paying close attention as I maneuvered around the anomalies, grabbing a snowflake and a shell before retreating to restore my energy. Then I made a run for the second anomaly. I speedran my way through with never seen before precision as I grabbed the artifacts and ran like hell. I was happy that I managed to yoink the artifacts and survive the Sai mission, but even with that, I still wanted to take a look at the concrete dump anomaly, where I found yet another artifact. Had I cowered earlier and ran away, I would have never caught these. So remember fellas, always take risks in life. I was feeling good, so I headed over to Sakharov and fast traveled to Rostok, where I was welcomed with an emission, which was a good thing as it meant artifacts would respawn. After the mission was over, I went to Mangan to upgrade my stuff. Now my shotgun is more accurate and all I needed was the third toolkit for my gun to reach its full potential. I met Petrenko where I rerolled the rewards until I got something nice. And as I walked to the bar, I saw the corpses of the unfortunate stalkers who couldn't make it, and among them was Leolik. I paid my respects to the fallen comrade, even though he didn't mean much or anything to the story or my character. He was the first person to reach friendly status with me. Let's drink to him once more. He was a good stalker. Back at the bar, I listened to some bangers as I got ready to visit the Clear Sky base. There, I met Cold, and he gave me a mission to visit Lab X18 to steal some classified documents. I accepted the quest, and as my wrist started to hurt more, I decided to call it a night and continue tomorrow. When I got back on the game the following day, I started making my way towards Dark Valley. When I was in garbage, I attempted to grab the artifacts from the nearby anomaly. I fucked up, so I quick loaded, which resulted in my game crashing. I watched as one of the artifacts vanished before my eyes, but I still grabbed the remaining one as well as few more from the nearby anomalies. I went to Dark Valley, and thankfully I didn't deal with any problems. I descended into the basement and was welcomed by the shriek of a bloodsucker. If that wasn't a warm welcome, I don't know what it is. As I made my way through X18, I kept running into mutants. It was here that I realized how inadequate my shotgun was for close quarters. Having only 2 shells before reloading raises the need for a better CQB weapon. I got smoked by some snorks, then I smoked them, got the code for the first door, then the second code, making sure to dodge the pseudo-giant before finally grabbing the documents, killing the pyrogeist, triggering the cutscene and sending soldiers to clear the area. I was pretty tired and sleepy and forgot that the military were neutral with me, and ended up killing one of them. So I reloaded the save, making sure not to touch them this time. And as I got out, I admired the mesmerizing night sky of the zone, before calling it a night and heading to bed, marking the end of the first episode. I've certainly not done bad for the entry of the series, and if you've made it here, I thank you dearly. I hope you enjoyed the first episode. There is more to come, and I promise to deliver on the same level of quality in the next one. And until then, farewell.